The field of engineering has contributed hugely towards changing the way of life on Earth. The developments and innovations made by man in this field over the last couple of years have been absolutely unimaginable. In contrast, there have been some remarkable design calamities also. These catastrophes have been a consequence of incorrect planning, under or overestimations, inadequate information, and considerably more. Nevertheless, these debacles have been a subject of study and examination for the new age engineers, so they can learn from their faults and improve the engineering of things to come. Now, let's head into the top 10 engineering failures of all time. And before we head into the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future uploads. Now, at number 10, the Hindenburg Disaster. This hydrogen-filled Zeppelin conveyed a 3-horsepower steam motor that turned an enormous propeller and flew at a speed of 6 miles per hour. The inflexible carrier, regularly known as the Zeppelin after the last name of its inventor, Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin, was created by the Germans in the late 19th century. The airship Hindenburg, the biggest airship ever constructed and the pride of Nazi Germany, burst into flames after touching its mooring mast in Lakehurst, New Jersey, killing 36 passengers and crew members on May 6, 1937. On May 3, 1937, the Hindenburg departed from Frankfurt, Germany for an adventure over the Atlantic to Lakehurst Naval Air Base. Extending 804 feet from stern to bow, it held 36 travelers and a crew of 61. While attempting to moor at Lakehurst, the ship out of nowhere burst into flames, likely after a spark ignited its hydrogen center. Quickly falling 200 feet to the ground, the structure of the carrier burned in a blink of an eye. 13 passengers, 21 crew members, and 1 regular citizen of the ground crew lost their lives, and a large portion of the survivors endured many wounds. Number 9. The collapse of the Quebec Bridge. The Quebec Bridge collapsed twice in Canada. A cantilever bridge was proposed as the most beneficial plan to connect the brutal frigid waters of the St. Lawrence River. The first occasion, it was in 1907, and the subsequent time it occurred in 1916. This event is known to have killed nearly 90 crewmen. It was the biggest cantilever bridge in Canada and around the globe. At the point when the bridge collapsed in 1907, there were workers who were dealing with the cantilever arm, and about 55 individuals were noted as dead, either as a result of the falling debris or due to drowning. It was a major disaster for them, and they thought they had learned from their mistakes. Furthermore, they chose to construct the bridge once more. The second time, they utilized lower cords from the cantilevers, and they were a lot stronger than before. And once more, disaster struck in 1916, and the central range of the bridge disintegrated. This time, it killed 13 laborers. Number 8. The nuclear plant explosion in Chernobyl. In 1986, atomic reactors failed and led to a progression of blast and radioactive aftermath. Upwards of 64 individuals perished on the spot because of the engineering catastrophe. Nonetheless, right around 30,000 individuals experienced premature deaths because of cancer. The calamity happened due to an imperfect plan of the reactor, and individuals working were not trained properly. In 2011, this site was proclaimed as a tourist destination. The Chernobyl catastrophe was one-of-a-kind event and the main mishap throughout the entire existence of commercial nuclear power. Today, many steps are taken to avoid another disaster like this again. Number 7. The collapse of the Charles de Gaulle Airport. The Charles de Gaulle Air Terminal fatality reflects one of the greatest engineering disappointments. The airport was introduced in May of 2004, and before long, an immense part of the top Terminal 2E fell. The breakdown of the terminal happened at 7 a.m., luckily not at a heavy rush hour, or would have caused a great debacle. This failure influenced the picture of the French civil engineering and led to many financial losses. Because of the collapse, 4 individuals died immediately and 3 individuals suffered major wounds. Afterward, when the place was analyzed, specialists didn't discover any issues. In any case, when the inquiry team did a thorough check, they found that the rooftop was not strong enough to hold the massive metal columns. After this event, they recreated the terminal, which cost them as much as $120 million. The airport reopened to the public in 2008. At number 6. The Air France Concorde flight crash. Speaking of the French, they not only let an airport collapse, but an airliner also blew up during takeoff. The Concorde flight of Air France on the 25th of July in 2000 crashed not long after its takeoff from the Charles de Gaulle International Airport. It held 113 individuals altogether, and they all died. The disaster happened due to one of its tires that was popped during takeoff by a strip of metal debris that was lying on the runway. It burst the tire, and then the tire struck under the wing, and it led to a domino effect which resulted in a crash. After an examination, it was discovered that Concorde was more prone to such disasters because of losing the tires as compared with different other airplanes. After the mistake, numerous adjustments were made to the original blueprints of the plane. This event additionally finished off the production of the supersonic airliner, and after 3 years, Concorde likewise stopped running. At number 5, the disaster of the Space Shuttle Columbia. The Space Shuttle Columbia killed a group of 7 astronauts on the 1st of February in 2003. It crumbled while entering the Earth's atmosphere. On additional investigation, it was found that during the takeoff of the space shuttle, a little bit of foam insulation had broken off from the shuttle. It had hit the left wing of the space shuttle and harmed the defensive tiles that are responsible for shielding the shuttle during its re-emergence into the planet's atmosphere. Because of the damage, when the space shuttle re-emerged into the atmosphere, the tiles failed and caused an immediate chain of reactions that broke down the shuttle. Columbia was the first space shuttle to fly in space. Its first flight occurred in April of 1981, and it effectively finished 27 missions before the catastrophe. On its 28th flight, Columbia on mission STS-107 left Earth once and for all on January 16, 2003. At that point, the shuttle program was centered around building the International Space Station. Number 4. The Bhopal Gas Explosion. In 1984, there was a harmful gas discharge at a Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal, India. Reports show that a mix of various substandard conditions, repetitive violation of safety protocols, management carelessness, and in general negligence for safety was what eventually caused what is viewed as the most awful mechanical event ever. The domino effect began when somehow water got into the methyl isocyanate tank, setting off an exothermic response, which was gravely worsened by an assortment of factors, including iron from rotting steel pipes. The pressure in the tank doubled in 30 minutes, yet was viewed as a glitch in the reading instruments by 2 different staff members. Half an hour had passed and the crew members began feeling the impacts of MIC gas exposure, and action were taken to discover the leak. In spite of the fact that the leak was found, the choice was made to address the issue after the coffee break. When the coffee break finished, the state of the tank was critical and the emergency relief valve burst open, delivering poisonous MIC gas directly into the air. Furthermore, 2 of the 3 safety gadgets set up to moderate the atmospheric release of the dangerous gas were both of improper size, breaking down, or weren't operational. There were 2,259 quick deaths and 11,000 deaths following the event. 25 years have passed since the event. However, the land around Bhopal is still harmful to creatures and people today. Number 3. The Titanic. At more than 800 feet long and a weight of 46,000 tons, the Titanic was the largest boat ever made in 1912. Despite the fact that its design succeeded to impress the majority by looks, the numerous elements that added to its fast sinking after it slammed into a tremendous chunk of ice while it was cruising at a greatest speed of 22 knots turned into a matter of investigating and examination of lots of engineering researchers. The boat's material failures and design imperfections had persuaded researchers to believe that safety was likely not the essential concern during its development. For instance, one line of safety boats was taken out from the original plan to consider more space and a superior view for travelers with 5-star rooms. More than half of the 2,200 individuals that were on board the Titanic endured the result of those changes made in the blueprints. Just a short time after the crash into the iceberg, the boat made its plummet to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. 5 of the watertight compartments were totally flooded, a critical failure probably brought about by the decrease of the height of the bulkheads for better convenience of the 5-star public rooms. Analysts likewise attribute different causes to this event. For example, the high substance of sulfur in the steel and the low temperature water, making the whole steel and the bolts drastically compromise the compartment's capacity to contain the flooding, thus quickening the sinking. Every one of these considerations are now applied to the developing of huge boats as cautionary measure, and numerous safety guidelines have been set up to stay away from catastrophes like this one to ever happen again. At number 2, we have the collapse of the St. Francis Dam. The St. Francis Dam was built to fulfill the needs of Los Angeles that was expanding quickly near the mid-1920s. To construct the dam, an American-Irish civil engineer, William Mulholland, was hired. Finished on May 4th in 1926, the St. Francis Dam stood almost 200 feet tall, 700 feet in length, and covered 600 acres. Built with a moderately populated mountainous canyon around 47 miles northeast from downtown Los Angeles, the region's residents consisted generally of farmers and workers at the dam or hydroelectric power plants. It was the biggest arch-supported dam on the planet, with the capacity to hold more than 12 billion gallons of water, around 2 years' worth of water for the city of Los Angeles. It cost $1.3 million to construct, which was actually under budget. There were warnings of cracks and leaks in the dam after 2 years, yet Mulholland overlooked them all. At last, in 1928, the dam burst 2 hours after killing more than 450 individuals. At number 1, the explosion of the seaboat Sultana. On April 27, 1865, the steamer Sultana detonated and sank while on its way to the Mississippi River, killing around 1,800 individuals. The event remains the most awful calamity in U.S. history. However, not many knew about the story of the Sultana's downfall or the ensuing rescue effort that included Confederate officers sparing Union prisoners' lives that would have been shot only weeks sooner. The Sultana was on its way from Vicksburg to St. Louis when the explosion happened. It was only weeks after the Civil War finished, and the vessel was stuffed with Union officers who had been delivered from Confederate prison camps. But this isn't the only reason we remember this tragedy. Soldiers from the opposite side helped Union soldiers get to safety. Citizens and Confederate people helped save the Union soldiers even though they were fighting each other only weeks before. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Engineers have come a long way since these tragedies and take extensive measures to ensure that these disasters don't ever happen again. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for future uploads. And I'll see you next time.